you begin to strip it down, it'll give you more concise instructions. But I'm going to start by removing the battery here. This one is tricky, so you want to be very careful with removing it. I'll show you some pointers here in just a second. Unplug this battery connector. Take that little adhesive and just go over it with some blunt nose pliers. You want to peel it back. Be very careful with this not to trim it, as this is your lifeline. You don't want to use a credit card method. Could damage your battery and puncture it. Once you've got one of them, go ahead and peel back and away from the battery at a slight angle. Try to wiggle it back and forth. And sometimes once in a blue moon, you'll get lucky and pull it out whole as it was intended. Can't believe both of these came out. That's ridiculous. It should be a crime. I mean, every single one I work on is a pain and rips. There we go. Got the battery out. So what's left? So not too much. We'll go ahead and continue by removing the logic board. All right, so next up, go ahead and remove the camera and do eject the SIM card from the side so it doesn't interfere with removing the logic board. And for this one right here in the middle, you have to use a 2.5 hex nut tool to get that out. So make sure you come prepared with the correct tools for this job, as this seems to be one of the harder ones to find. And out comes the logic board. So to unclip this one up here. I actually didn't change out the buttons because the space gray is so similar to this, it's really hard to tell that they're not even that matching. But if you will be changing the buttons, you want to make sure to replace the little silicone gasket around the button. So before you put them in, otherwise make sure they're all clicky and they work before you seal the deal here. Anyways, I'm going to start working on the bottom speaker here. Place that and the charging ports. Immediately just transfer everything over to this guy. Oh, and something I forgot to mention, you will lose your headphone jack. They wanted to make this hyper realistic, so you will not even get a headphone jack on the bottom here with your 6 or 6S anymore. Honestly, if you really want to, you could just drill straight through here and get that hole there because all the mounting points are there. On the bottom here, when replacing the speaker, make sure to take out the existing speaker grills and replace them into the new iPhone 10. And also don't forget to take out this bottom trim for the lightning port down here. It's a little pry, but you can get it out. And this is where I'm a little puzzled. Why would you put it back in? Shouldn't be too difficult. Just reverse everything that you did. I'm still a little bit bummed and mystified about the headphone jack. Why is he completed 10? And of course, before closing everything up, you want to power on your new iPhone 10 to ensure everything is working. The touch screen is all working and everything. But what a procedure, and we are here. So in a moment here, I'm going to close this up. But I got to tell you, even right now, it feels pretty solid. Like it's got this heft to it. It's nice premium feeling. It's no longer kind of rough and matte. So yeah, everything good. All good to close it up, and I'll be right back. All right, and here's the finished product. So the iPhone 10 in the silver-white combo. I got to tell you, it looks a lot better than I thought it would. Actually has a very premium feeling to it. This is real glass. The chrome borders really adds to that realism. So here it is next to the real deal. Obviously, the proportions are just a little bit off. Camera lens is a little bit smaller, but that's of course in order to accommodate the iPhone 6S design there. Silver border is pretty spot on. Of course, the display, you don't get that. Otherwise, pretty cool. Looks really clean. I would actually almost recommend it at this point if you have an old 6 or 6S that you don't really care much about and do something new with it. So pretty cool. Aside from the fact that you do lose your headphone jack, that ultra realism is there. So versus an old iPhone 6S, definitely looks a little bit newer, a little bit cleaner. Nice little updates there. All right, so that's the hardware side of things. Swipe up from the bottom here and actually get that little slider. You get the quick shortcut to the flashlight right there. You get the camera button as well. Kind of cool. So you get that ultra realism. Now notice up top you have that lock icon as well. And you also have the status cutout. So that guy up there will actually adapt and change depending on the applications. You can do the same thing and slide up to leave the app. Really cool. Take that a step further and actually lock the device with the swipe as well. So kind of neat there. You can also use switcher radii to actually get the cool rounded app switcher effect that Apple advertised on the iPhone 10.